Hey, this is Dr. Kevin Jefferson, Chair of the Podiatric Medicine and Surgery section of the National Medical Association. You can continue on with our section podcast. I have here my main man, Dr. Donald Harrison, who practices right here in the DMV in Glen Burnie, Maryland. We're going to have a great conversation about sports medicine and podiatry and integrating that into your practice. Donald, why don't you go ahead and let us know about yourself a little bit more, brother?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, man. I'm a big fan. Wanted to take a minute to celebrate this 100K subscribers right here in the background on this silver plaque. I know you're more closer to 500 now, but you know, that's pretty big time.
Yeah.
And so I'm Dr. Donald Harrison, podiatrist, of course, and I do a lot with sports medicine in the youth realm, as well as at the collegiate level and high school level, of course, and ex-professional athletes also. And every now and then, there'll be some professional athletes in the mix. But my office is in Glen Burnie, Maryland. It's the Foot and Ankle Institute of Maryland is what can be found online. And I've been at it now for almost 15 years, man. It's been a pretty long time. So since 2011. So I guess it kind of makes me closer to 12 to 13 years than 15, but I'm going to claim 15 as of right now.
Yes, sir. What school did you attend?
So I was at Temple University. Yes.
Up the road.
In the early 2000s. So, you know, you are not too far.
Yeah, it was New York.
Gotcha. And so yeah, it's a great time. And in the office, of course, like most podiatrists, we're seeing the gamut of patients, whether it comes to our bunions, our diabetic patients as well. And I see a good amount of the sports athletes in terms of stress fractures and shin splints and any other types of injuries, Achilles tendonitis and things like that, coming from athletes throughout the DMV area, especially track and field.
Donald's a humble guy, and I dig that about you, man. He's not just clearly, sports medicine is a big part of who he is, but he runs the gamut. I've seen what he does in advanced wound care. I've seen what he does in surgery. He's a well-rounded guy. He does everything that's needed in our communities here. And also, he's a member of the NMA. He has, the past couple of years, presented to our section at the National Convention. So he's down with the cause. He's in the fold. He's part of the fam. Appreciate that, man. So we're going to get into it a little bit more. Tell us a little bit more, if you will, bro, about your personal sports background and how that became part of what you do in professional practice.
Yeah, so me personally, since I was a youth, I played football and basketball through the early years, of course, being elementary school through middle school. And I went into focus on track and field and cross country. A little funny story. I lived too far from the school when we moved in between 8th grade and 9th grade in order to make it to football practice for that summer. So therefore, that pretty much disqualified me from being on the football team.
Yeah, you can't go to summer camp.
Yeah, then you're not making a high school football team. It's just not going to happen. So instead, I went out for what I thought was the track team, because over the announcements on that first day of school, they said anybody that wants to come out for the track team, come on out. It was actually cross country that I went out for, and I didn't know. So that first day, I ran my first 6 miles with jean shorts and basketball shoes on. And so I got left by the older athletes, the mature, seasoned athletes out there. But I made it back, you know, a little bit of walking and running and stuff and some pretty big hills along the way. But I made it back, and I was addicted to track and field / cross country ever since. And so from there, I ran cross country and track and field throughout all of high school and was a collegiate, scholarship level collegiate athlete as well during college. And along the way, I had the opportunity to win one national championship with USATF Summer Olympics in the year 2000. And that was for the steeplechase. So the 2,000-meter steeplechase. Wow. So I was pretty serious with it, which took a lot out of me in terms of, you know, attention, schooling, and things like that. So limited capacity to do anything else besides go to school and work out and travel for events and things like that, whether it be in the Caribbean, across the country, and things like that. And so at the collegiate level, I did pretty well at the collegiate level to start off with, but coincidentally, I got injured in my sophomore year, just after winning that national championship during the summer track season.
Okay.
And so I tore slash ruptured my plantar fascia band.
Wow.
And I believe it's in the right foot. I can't, don't quote me on which foot it is since it's been so long. But yeah, so that happened. And from there, I started to learn a little bit more about medicine in terms of podiatry. And I was rehabbed with a great podiatrist out in Western Maryland and took it from there. I liked what he did, and I was already pre-med, so I said I'll go in that direction. And I had the fortune of being able to, apply and get into Temple University School of Podiatric Medicine.
Excellent, excellent. Now, again, humble guy, low key guy. He's also a coach. So between practicing podiatry, managing a business, he's also a coach at high school here in the DMV. If you're from this area, you may be familiar with St. John's College High School.
Yep.
Okay. And one of the larger sports programs, probably well-known sports programs in the country. My son went to DeMatha with Chief Rival here in the town. And so I've been on that campus enough times. My son played baseball for DeMatha. And so, we're very versed with that school. Why don't you let people know who one of their famous alums is?
Yeah. I guess the most famous alum, at least at this time, until somebody eclipses him in the future, because all records are made to be broken, is Kevin Plank. And so, of course, he's a big benefactor at his alma mater, like we all should be. Where we come from is who we should definitely go back to support for sure. And coaching at St. John's College High School with the same group of coaches that I started my coaching journey off with, which was back in around 2002, 2003 timeframe. And so coaching at the youth level, anywhere between summer track season, cross country season, which is now, and indoor outdoor track season. So of course, my level of coaching has kind of diminished and fluctuated depending on how the practice is, how busy home life is, and things like that. But that definitely includes travel trips, of course, out of town, whether it's New York, North Carolina, California, things of that nature. And that definitely includes a lot of time after work out there on the turf or on the track and helping athletes in that regard. Helping out in things such as, small injuries we might get out there, biomechanics, gait, and things like that, cadence, and those types of things. So, yeah, a lot of time.
Gotcha. Because I was a coach too. I was a youth soccer and baseball coach.
Yeah.
I started, mostly for my kids, but it just continued. Like I started, my first foray into coaching was 8U soccer.
Okay.
For my daughter. Right, and went on to softball with her, and then with my son, it was t-ball.
Okay.
From 5U up to 15U, I was coaching baseball, local boys and girls club, travel ball up and down the East Coast.
Gotcha.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. I understand exactly where you're coming from, man. And the thing that coaching taught me about what I do as a podiatrist is to better relate to the kids, or in this case, like to the patients. It's like when I'm no longer coaching now. My son's in college. My daughter's off. She graduated 2 years ago. She's off doing her thing. But I have a better understanding of when youth athletes come to my office with issues.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I understand the ambivalence that parents may have. Right.
Yeah.
Where the kid just wants to get back out and play, and the parent wants the child to be healthy.
Yeah.
And somewhere you have to bring those two together.
Yeah.
Right. Not only as Dr. Jefferson or Dr. Harrison, but we're able to let them know that, hey, I am coach, or I was coach at one time. So understand where the goals are.
Yeah.
And where we need to meet to make sure that both of those goals are accomplished. All right. So how do you formulate and how do you use that past athletic experience and coaching experience into working with, let's say, in this case, young athletes that are injured and their parents, and they come to your office with an issue and he just wants to get back out on the field? The parent just wants the kid to have a future in the
Yeah.
in the endeavor.
Yeah, so it's a great dichotomy that's different depending on each scenario, each patient, and each parent. And so, like you were just now saying, understanding the language of the actual athlete makes a huge difference. To be able to literally speak in that athlete's language and then turn around or turn your head 90 degrees and speak to the parent as an actual parent, because I'm a parent of 2 little ones as well. It makes a huge difference to be able to bridge the gap between the parents' expectations and their reservations, as well as the athletes or the kids' urgency to get back out there, and as well as their psychology, how they psychologically see themselves and see their career ending right there on the spot because they might have, a stress fracture or something of a sort. And so the language is the key part in terms of bridging that gap. And otherwise, helping them to see, them being the athlete, helping them to see what their future looks like over the long course as opposed to just the short course, makes a huge difference for them. And allowing that parent to, of course, have their reservations, but not necessarily try to strangle or have such a strong hold on their child that they don't allow them to continue to be who they are. Because if the child's identity is wrapped into athletics, which a lot are, especially at the high school level, then it's like the utmost importance for us to ensure that that child still has the ability to be associated with their teammates, to be around their teammates, not just on the telephone, but physically and things of that nature, and to essentially be able to make programs for them that will allow them to protect the actual injured area, which gives comfort to the parent, but also allow them to continue to progress or at least maintain their level of fitness, which is great for the athlete. And so finding that happy medium takes a little bit of time, a couple visits sometimes, and maybe some conversations on a telephone outside of the office, but it definitely can be found, and it's primarily within the language. So, I consider myself to be bilingual in some scenarios like that.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. And one of the things that we also have to learn as practitioners is how to take all this experience we have, whether we were athletes in school or not. I was a baseball and track kid. Went up through high school and college, right? And being able to take those experiences and help mold who I am as a podiatrist. Not all podiatrists have that. So you don't necessarily have to have an athletic background.
You don't? Definitely.
To build sports medicine into your practice. Now, it does help for you to learn the subtle nuances of a particular sport and the subtle injuries that go with that sport. There are injuries that are germane to athletics or fitness across the board. An ankle sprain is an ankle sprain is an ankle sprain, whether it's basketball or whether it's football. However, there are certain ways that you rehab that person based on what their athletic event is.
Yes, definitely.
And so it behooves any doctor that wants to go out there and get into sports medicine to learn the subtle nuances of a particular sport. And that's going to be based on where you are. So if you're in a community where lacrosse is huge, Glen Burnie lacrosse is huge. They're right up Baltimore. Hopkins is up the road. Big lacrosse school.
Big time.
Right? So these kids, whether you plan on doing sports medicine or not, are going to come to you with an injury that they suffered in lacrosse. If you're in a big basketball area, or you have a number of dance academies near your office, you have to prepare yourself to be able to serve those folks and their children. And again, you don't have to learn to the point where you can teach dance or you can coach first base at a high school. But know what injuries are germane to that sport and how you can return that athlete to the level where they were before the injury. Give us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so like you said, in the Baltimore region, lacrosse is big. So me understanding the movements of a lacrosse player to know that they're going to be cutting, moving laterally a bit more than a football player would or basketball player would. It's for me to understand that, yes, when their foot is planted, they're going to be taking hits or shots to their upper body, which will ultimately put more stress on their Achilles tendon. This helps me to understand that, hey, in this population, we have to ensure that they have great range of motion through the ankle. We also have to monitor or look at their ankle range of motion to make sure that it's not excessive, which would lead to them having multiple ankle sprains, such as in tennis players as well, versus football and basketball, which are both big in the DMV as well, of course, and as well baseball is pretty big, but we have less injuries or less kids coming to our office in terms of baseball in comparison to our fellow orthopedists. But nonetheless, within the football basketball realm, we know that they're going to have high plantar foot pressures, primarily in the forefoot, because of the amount of linear acceleration that they're doing. And so with scenarios like that, we have to ensure, okay, these plantar foot muscles, the flexor digitorum, quadratus plantae, the interosseous muscles and things like that are stronger. So whether it's working with the coach to develop a foot and ankle strengthening program at the beginning of the year during the summertime, or whether it's having them in an orthotic that's made for a sport like that with a lot more forefoot cushion or support just in general, because not all support necessarily needs to be cushion per se. It actually can be hard. And with that being said, knowing those particular nuances, and of course in my neck of the woods, which is track and field, understanding how we're dealing with vertical forces on a daily basis, which, want to deposit most of that force within the shins, it's of greatest importance to make sure that we have great shin development programs, or should I say shin splint development programs, which is really strengthening the muscles throughout the lower legs and everything, and monitoring them for the way that they walk, as well as the way that they land when they're in their actual sport. And so, yeah, it makes a big difference to know those nuances, and it's necessary. And for a great relationship with a parent or with the athlete, knowing these little small subtleties goes a long way to comfort them psychologically, as well as to allow them to say, hey, there's a great guy over here in Glen Burnie, or there's a great guy down here in DC who knows about our sport. You just send your kid over there too if they roll their ankle, or if they're having a fifth metatarsal pain of some sort, or if they're having a turf toe injury. And so, yeah, it makes a big difference, and it's quite helpful.
As your sports medicine part of your practice began to grow, or in the beginning, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Let's start there. Did the sports medicine part of your practice grow by happenstance, or did you reach out to coaches, trainers, boys and girls clubs, and so forth and so on? Did you have a combination of two? How did that all come to be to where you are now?
Yeah, so initially I had like an organic style growth, which was me naturally being out there in the field in terms of coaching. So I was coaching while I was in podiatry school. I had my hand in coaching as well while I was in residency. So by the time I came out into private practice, I was with a large orthopedic group initially. The patient population came along with me because they knew that I was there and present and available. And so once the business mind started to develop, it took a couple years for me to really understand, hey, you have a skill set that other coaches that you don't know can readily utilize in other teams that I don't know about. Yes, I did start to reach out to them. So this was rhythmic gymnastics. I went towards youth organizations that just held different events throughout the year, kids soccer clubs, of course, the football teams and the athletic directors in the Glen Burnie and Baltimore metro area, reached out to them as well. Of course, I went to a lot of basketball games naturally, just for fun. So reached out to head coaches for basketball teams, mainly at the high school level, but I also did it in the youth level. And so it made a big difference in terms of them knowing who I was, even if they didn't necessarily initially select me to be their treating provider for one of their athletes. They had an understanding of who I was. And even more so, that gave them an additional support for their actual organization, because they knew that they could call me with a question or something along the way, let alone be able to send an athlete and their parent to my office. And so as time went on, that method of me physically being out there and growing an organic population, as well as reaching out to athletic directors primarily and head coaches, that is growing the practice pretty well.
Fantastic. It's always better.
Mhm.
It's more real. It's true. The patients and their parents in this case appreciate you more when it comes along organically, when it's
Yeah.
not forced, when you're not, out there sounding like a used car salesman. Hey,
you're
I see
right.
you out there. I'm Dr. Harrison. I do foot and ankle. Your kid rolls his ankle. Come see your boy.
Mhm.
All right? No, you have to let it come to you. It's kind of like like from the movie. If you build it, they will
It
come.
will come. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That Field of Dreams is
That
a great
Field of Dreams,
movie.
it is.
It should be
And
taught in high
and
school.
the same thing is like, how we all come out of school. Or I'm going to come out of school and I'm going to be the podiatrist for the Dallas Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
You get into practice, probably not going to happen. There's a whole different dynamic.
There is.
They're getting to that level.
Yes.
It's more who you know than what you know.
Yep.
All right. But, and I tell young docs, whether they're residents, whether they're students, or whether they're getting ready to jump out of the nest and go try to make their place in the world.
Yeah.
Your community will dictate what type of doctor you will be, if you let them.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
Because if you try to force it, there's going to be a certain level of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
But like here, where I am on Georgia Avenue in Northwest DC, yes, I do sports medicine, but it's not a major focus of what I do.
Right.
My community here, DC, diabetes and wound care
Yes.
is what was needed. So I came out of a pretty good program. I'm out of Brooklyn Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But the need for practitioners of lower extremity that could heal advanced high-risk wounds
Yeah.
was greater.
Yeah.
So I had to go back and learn that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I had to take courses. I had to get representatives, and I was blessed to have representatives fly me across the country to their headquarters and learn about this product, to learn about negative pressure.
Yeah.
First time I put on a wound vac was on a mannequin in Texas.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was fortunate that I was taught by the people who actually make the doggone thing.
Which is great.
Yeah. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you get to go to the chocolate factory, go to the chocolate factory, see how it's made, see how the sausage is made. All right? And your community will come to you because you will build confidence within yourself to be able to deal with these issues.
Yeah.
And then the community will let other members know, hey, you need to go to that doctor over there if you're having this issue. I want to transition to our adult athletes.
Okay.
All right, I'm talking. The elite athlete. We understand that, right? I mean, we're deep in the conversation about elite athletes now because of what's happened with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So forth. That's forefront right now with his Achilles tear. But I'm talking about Joe and Jane America, who's out there playing tennis every weekend and going to the golf course, or running, maybe doing an occasional 5K or 10K,
Yeah.
like that. What is your approach to them? They come in, they've self-diagnosed themselves with plantar fasciitis.
A lot.
They went to Dr. Google, they went to Dr. TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they think they have this issue. Excuse me. Dealing with an adult fitness enthusiast or athletes is different.
It certainly is.
All right. So how's your approach there?
Yeah. So I'm gonna do a little compare and contrast, a little juxtaposition here. In terms of dealing with like youth athletes and their parents, they're generally asking us what to do and things of that nature. But when we transition to the adult athlete, they come on in with some knowledge, some good, some bad, but they have knowledge nonetheless. And in the midst of that, one of the things that I do is to find out as much about them as possible, asking them questions in terms of, hey, did you look this up online? What did you see? What did you find? Tell me what you think of this. so that I can ascertain their perspective on their own injury.
Mhm.
So if they're wrong, then I just let them know that they're wrong, of course, and guide them in the right direction. And if they're right, I give them praise for actually being right. And then I keep on asking questions in terms of treatment, which helps me out. So before I'm actually given a treatment plan for, let's just say, some stubborn plantar fasciitis that they had, if they've done exercises online that they saw in like a Facebook group or something like that, or from a YouTube video, if those exercises are helpful for them, then I let them know. But if they're not, then of course I'm letting them know, hey, this bit of information is wrong because one of the reasons may be, hey, your treatment plan is out of order. And so one of the great things about coming here to a podiatrist is to help you understand how to do things in a correct order. Because if a heel is swollen, you can't do too many strengthening exercises when you got too much swelling and pain going on, right? Or if you have some atrophy muscles that you don't know about, you can't go out and start your walking program because the muscles are going to fatigue, which is just going to lead to additional stress. And so helping them to understand what order to do their exercises at home, as well as to formulate a whole treatment plan. But I always like to ask them questions first. And so as an adult, of course, from a physician standpoint, we're showing them additional respect. And of course, they appreciate that as well. You give yourself the opportunity to be more integrated into their actual running or exercise program by simply asking a lot more questions right up front. And they also give you the information on how they like to be treated. So if they are short on time, hey, regenerative medicine is an option for you. If they have a needle phobia, hey, we have, different measures for you, such as, taping and different straps and braces that you can wear and things like that. And so they pretty much guide you when you ask them a lot of questions about what they're doing.
Okay. An interesting thing that we need to understand about Don here, Dr. Harrison, that as far as I know, he is the only African American who owns his own orthotics company. Name of the company is Athlete Every Day. He's going to talk about some of the products. He's going to talk about how you can become involved. He's going to talk about the birth of this company, how it formulated in his mind to where he is now, and what he's offering to us as a body and to the public at large. Don, I mean that's exciting news, man.
Yeah.
Because we know that the foot care industry and the orthotic industry and foot device industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
Globally, not just here,
exactly.
but globally.
Yeah.
And you being a coach, you being a high-level international athlete, being a podiatrist now for 15 years. Tell me about the birth child of Athlete Every Day, how it came to where the thought process, how you got to the point you said like, you know what, I need to get into this sphere.
Yeah.
Break it down for me.
And so the name of the company, Athlete Every Day, was born from the understanding that athletes, literally, they want to be athletes every day. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that they're out practicing their particular sport every day, which a lot of times once you get to a high level, you truly are out there every day. But you want to be thinking about it. You want to be doing things that exemplify you being an athlete every day. And of course, for us, we're dealing with patients who are injured, who are, for the most part, either chronically injured or severely injured when it comes to athletes. And what I understood was that there's a big gap between what happens out in the field or on a basketball court, on a turf, at the rink for ice skate and ice hockey, things of that nature, and what we do here in the office. There's a big gap between those. And a lot of people feel that gap without the knowledge of what they're actually putting in that space. And what I mean by that is buying products offline to try to help out with their injury, whether it be ankle braces, knee braces, and things of that nature, but not necessarily understanding sometimes what the actual injury is. And as well, not really understanding how good or how bad the product that they're actually using actually is. So, does this antifungal cream actually work? Or does it not work? Why? why have I used this product for the past 4 to 6 months before coming to the office to see you, Dr. Jefferson? Why has this product not worked for me? And things of that nature. And so, of course, our understanding is within the diagnosis and treatment realm in the pathophysiology of medicine, especially with the lower extremity. And so from there, we have the ability to be able to say, hey, this is what's good for you. You know, let's get rid of the bad products. Let's get to the good products and things of that nature. And so from there, the demand was so high for things such as orthotics, ankle braces, knee braces, and other rehabilitation devices that I decided to say, hey, here's an area that I can help out a lot of people with because I understand and have the knowledge organically as well as medically. And so one of the missing pieces is to help bridge this gap. And so Athlete Everyday was born back in 2018. And we started with a rehabilitation aspect in mind, which was with massage guns. So high-end massage guns that were able to be taken out into bad weather, extreme weather that won't necessarily break down on you or anything like that. Ones that would look aesthetically pleasing because none of us like to carry around anything that looks crappy, right? Especially when you're an athlete, because you know a part of you being an athlete is what you're wearing and stuff like that, the design quality and things of that nature.
Exactly.
And also, of course, you want to be out there to be able to play 2 basketball games back to back. You want to be able to play, you know, or 2 baseball games back to back for that matter, some double headers, or you want to be able to run in 4 events in any given day. And of course, that takes a lot of energy, that takes a lot of stretching and additional preparedness. And it comes in the form of masseuses and as well physical therapists and personal trainers. But of course, we don't necessarily have all that time. And sometimes we don't have that as a resource to us, depending on where we are in our life and in school and things of that nature. So Athlete Everyday started there in 2018 with massage guns, and we kind of carried over into orthotics as well. So some orthotics that fit the masses in terms of flat foot, high arch feet, high demand feet, as I like to call it, versus a low demand foot as well. So orthotics that kind of span that category. So we've been at it for about 5 years now. So.
Are they mostly prefab, or are you getting into the custom end yet?
Yeah, so there is a custom aspect to it. You know, the custom aspect, of course, started in office because we're able to naturally make custom orthotics and everything. And so it actually transitioned from custom going backwards down to prefab. So it went the other way. And so what I mean by that is utilizing our skill set of being able to identify what that patient needs in terms of their foot type and what pathologies we see. And so if we aren't able to make a specifically custom orthotic for them, we can recommend now a high-end prefabricated orthotic that's specific to that foot type. And so that additional piece of knowledge helps them along the way to not be in a trial and error period. So instead of saying, hey, you should just go online and just get yourself some insoles or inserts that may be gel form, that may be made for people who just stand on their feet all day, you know, gives them a little bit of cushion, but doesn't give them any structural support. We can now be able to say, hey, get these particular types right here, which are made for your high arch foot type, or get these ones over here because they're better for you, because they're made for people with plantar fasciitis and things of that nature. And so it started backwards from high end going back downward and everything, with the addition of being able to understand what foot type you actually have.
Would you show us some of the examples you brought with
Oh, sure. And so I'll pass one of these along to you right here. And what we have here in front of us is an orthotic that's made specifically for individuals that go in a linear motion, basketball players, runners, football players are in this category to some degree too, and other sports as well. Whereas the plate is made out of carbon fiber, low profile material that handles a lot of stress here. And also, as you can see, the actual form works well for these types of sports, which go in that linear direction. And so that's what I mean by starting off from the custom aspect and bringing it back down within the prefab world. And so this device is really, really good for runners because it attenuates stress. And it attenuates stress in other high impact sports, basically. Volleyball is included in that as well. And so flexible, just like we like it to be in terms of podiatry. We like things to be flexible in places where they need to be, but still firm and solid in other places where we don't want them to be, right? And so that's what this carbon fiber runners type orthotic is made of. And we have others as well, which go in line. I'll give you that one, which go in line more with what we do on a regular basis, and especially what we see and what the American public sees, which is, flat feet and things of that nature. And so for those athletes or even non-athletes as well, who may have any type of flat foot deformity that may be causing them any issues, of course, our job is to figure out what's so bad about that flat foot, and from there to be able to help them. And so some of the traditional characteristics being the high inner or medial arch here, as well as with a medial post in order to, turn that calcaneus inward or inverted a bit and things of that nature. And still with high-end, high-quality materials, as well as a deep heel cup sitting here. So for sports where they move a little more laterally, i.e. Lacrosse, soccer, this is a type that may work a little bit better for those within the sport. And of course, we have others as well for those who, sit a lot more. And so there are other products as well.
So you have products that are not necessarily geared toward an athlete, but for the everyday Joe and Jane who have foot issues, not just out there trying to play tennis every Saturday.
There you go. And so that's where that everyday part comes in, because it is for the everyday person as well.
Okay, fantastic, man. So I'm perplexed. Like when I invited you to come, and talk about this, this was not on the menu,
on the agenda.
I didn't know about this, so I'm hearing about this for the first time, just like y'all are hearing about it for the first time, about this brother, this doctor, this podiatrist, who also owns an orthotics company and foot medical device company, rehabilitation company that he devised between his own ears. You don't get to meet Willy Wonka every day, right?
Yeah.
When you go to the chocolate factory, usually you just go to the gift shop.
Yeah.
But I'm blessed, man, because I'm right here with the real Willy Wonka of podiatric rehab foot products, man, and I'm blown. You just got yourself a new customer for sure.
Yeah, appreciate that. Willy Wonka is normally in the back room.
Products, man.
Things better.
So, man, blessings to you and everything you're doing. I appreciate you coming out here today.
Sure.
Oh, you had something else here too. I wanted to see that.
My apologies.
It's all right.
So this is a hot cold massage ball that we have here, and essentially it was made to be able to travel with, because we have a nice bag cover, of course, with the actual device itself. The ball itself comes outside this device. My hand's a little slippery, so it'll be hard for me to show you. But nonetheless, it can be placed in a freezer. So we're dealing with a cold temperature device that can still be held in your hand, even coming out of the actual freezer. And that allows you to use this in rehabilitation purposes for muscle massages, for foot massages, of course, we're podiatrists, and be used throughout the entire body. As well, you can place it into cold, or should I say hot water, in order to heat the device as well. So if you need to heat up your muscles or anything like that, you can do that as well. So a hot cold massage ball. This is great for individuals that travel. And in terms of the athlete realm, it's great for the youth because it doesn't necessarily injure any of their growth plates. And so that they can start self-massaging and learning how to do massages themselves with something like this.
All right. Hey man, again, congratulations on your growth in a relatively short period of time as a practitioner in our community here. Congratulations on Athlete Every Day.
Thanks.
There's, we have people in the NMA who have opened up surgery centers, who have opened up pharmacies associated with the practice and stuff like that.
That's pretty awesome.
So we need to understand that in medicine, you have to think a little bit outside the box, or a lot of bit outside the box. What he's doing, others have done, whether it's orthotics, or I've met podiatrists who got their certification in prosthetics.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they're able to do prosthetics for their patients and bill for it, and legally, doing Ritchie braces and all these higher end products for their patients. And it's not just writing prescriptions for extra depth shoes like we were taught come out of school. You gotta have a passion for what you do, what we do here.
Yeah.
And then act upon it. It's not just a wish list. A wish list is just some ink on paper.
Yeah.
All right. You got to put it into motion. You got to come up with a plan. You got to write it down. You got to try some things. 90% of the things you try at the beginning are not going to work.
Certainly.
But it's that 10%. It's that 10% that's going to put you over the top, with like what Brother Don here is doing, Dr. Harrison here is doing. Again, I appreciate it, man, for looking out. I'm glad that you're with us. Again, Dr. Harrison is in the family. He is in a May family. He has spoken to us on a number of occasions. He's on our faculty. He's just not a cat who pays his dues. He's in and he's doing the good work. If you want to get in touch with him, if you want to pick his brain about building sports medicine into your practice, if you want to get in touch with him about his company, Athlete Every Day, and how you can be a part, and how you can have the products that he has available, make them available for your practice and for your patients. All that information will be in the description of this video, how you can contact him, the website for Athlete Every Day, all that good stuff. Check him out. It's going to bless you like it's blessing me. And thanks again for checking into our podcast. Continue to stay tuned as we continue to bring good things for our membership and for our community. Be blessed.
Take care. Thank you. Thank you for having me, man.
You got it.